If you want to generate passive income, chances are you probably heard and read about books like Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, which popularized the whole idea of generating income passively. So in this video, we're uncovering the myth of the passive income and if passive income is actually real, and if so, can you achieve financial freedom with it or retire early? And if you watch this video all the way till the end, you're also going to discover which passive income side hustle ideas anyone can do without prior experience. But before we jump into that, first you have to understand what passive income actually is and what it's not. And there are so many myths out there, but passive income is not just laying on a beach in Bali and enjoying the rest of your life doing nothing at all and getting paid for that. It's much more than that. You need to first invest time into it and energy and resources, and then once you've built the passive income stream up, and then you can slow down and enjoy the fruits of your labor. It's not just pressing a button and then having suddenly 10K a month in your bank account without doing anything. So what it actually is, it's leverage of your time. You putting in work once and then you get paid over and over and over again. And there are many different ways that you can build these passive income streams, and we're gonna get into that in a moment.
Absolutely, Sam. And like for most people, it looks much more like a smooth transition from actively working and then having the first asset that generates passive income on the side while you're still working on your active income, and you keep making that transition more and more and more while you're building the passive income side up. And so this is much more like, as I said, like a smooth transition that is happening, and not just like, as you said, like a button press and boom, it's like it's here and now I can chill and do nothing anymore. So, and like obviously the question is, how much can you realistically make with this whole sort of passive income idea? And that really comes down to like how long you're willing to play the game in that sense, like making this transition. So if you work for, let's say, like 3 years on your active income and you put money aside and then you have your first asset that generates you that, like for some people it's like, okay, now I'm gonna retire and live like super low cost, cut all my costs, maybe move like into a really low price country so I can chill and survive with that. And for others it might be like a much more ambitious goal to go after, and they keep like for another 10 or 20 years and building that up. And for some they might even go so extreme that they get like addicted to the whole thing and they really dedicate their whole life to it. So like maybe the next generations, their children or grandchildren, will enjoy the fruits of their labor. And this is also like very common, I think, with a lot of the baby boomers in the market. Like a lot of their kids will earn all their labors from their life, like the house and all the assets they've built.
Yeah, and there's so many misconceptions about the whole passive income thing. There are so many videos out there saying that you're gonna make 35K passively in a single week, right? That's not just unrealistic, it's straight out a lie, right? So what you can do once you do have this first asset build up, or at least a little bit, right? Maybe you get to $500 a month or so passively, then you could reinvest that into the same income stream or into another one, and then you can stack it on top. And I would say let's jump straight into the first income stream right now, which is real estate.
Absolutely. Like real estate is the classic, as we mentioned in the intro, like Robert Kiyosaki is also like big on that. And then also like leveraging that with like other people's money. So like there is a whole concept about that. But essentially the question is, let's make it real. Like what do you actually need for real estate to make some money, and how does it work? And the classic way, and there are like subforms with Airbnb and stuff like that, but the classic way is you buy a property, you rent it out, and you through that get like the rent is your sort of like passive income if you want so. And now like the question is, okay, like taking realistic numbers in a secure country where you can rely on law and stuff, like the property is really yours, what do you need from that to actually make that happen with passive income? And we prepared like a little calculation for you guys. So like assuming you want to make $5,000 a month passively, what would that look like for real estate? We took a calculation with property, like 3 properties actually, valued on average around $600,000. And we took an example from the Swiss property market, which is a Western country like Switzerland. It's going to look very similar for other places in Western countries. So you got to do some sort of bank payment to leverage like other people's money or like the money of the bank. And in Switzerland, it looks like you got to do 20% down payment on the property. That means for a $600,000 property, that's around 120K times 3. We are around $360,000 that needs to go into a down payment. If you take that and you calculate down like the rent from a $600,000 property, you should average out, and it depends on the city and so on, but you should average out around 2,000 a month, which then gets us to like this 5-6K a month with 3 properties in total. And so obviously now we have to also look at like how fast you can set this whole thing up and how passive is it really actually, because again,
there's a beautiful thing about real estate that I wanted to mention here. Everything has downsides and upsides, but the upside here is really that you can leverage your money by 5 times, right? You can put, let's say 120K into the investment, and then you get this 600 something as a property value that you then can rent out.
I wanted to put in the word of caution there as well. Obviously every leverage plays in your favor in the good times, right? If interests are low, you can go crazy with it, but also like if you have an environment in a market like the past few years where interest rates are higher, you gotta have your math figured out. Like you also gotta be careful with that one. Just saying that, like it can go
like
both ways.
Everything has upsides and downsides.
Absolutely.
Right? It can be a huge upside or it can be a huge downside. Yeah. And real estate is not perfect. Like all of those models that we're gonna explain to you and passive income streams that we're gonna show you today, none of them are perfect, but they are all good.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we look at how fast can the whole thing be set up, obviously it depends on the country and the law, like how fast transaction can happen. But generally looking at like how this works is like, obviously you need to do some sort of research, check out properties, what makes sense, what is in the price range, how competitive is the environment, the city, the town, the district, whatever it is. Then you're obviously getting in touch with the seller so you can actually buy the whole thing, you negotiate. If that all is done and the property is yours, you might have to do renovation. If it's not like a newly built one, you might gotta renovate, put in some work or pay somebody to do that. And then we come into like finding somebody who actually rents that place. And also that is depending on, like in the city, it's probably easier than in the countryside. If it's a bigger one, it's usually harder than a smaller one. So there's like lots of factors playing into this whole thing. But if we put a timeline on the whole thing, we would say like on the very good side, in a very good scenario, you might can get through with all of this in like 6 months. If it takes longer and we're a little bit going to the worst side and you need more time there, it can maybe like take up to 12 months to like have this whole thing set up. And then if you have it running, again, this is not push a button. Like even though it's real estate, we still have some stuff going on. Like you have the rental bills that need to be sent out and checked. Maybe somebody's late for their rent payment. You need to like negotiate and call and stuff like that. You need to also like file the whole tax side when you have like a rental income, and that goes actually for all of them. You might gotta do repairs. That's usually if you're the landlord, you have to like take care of that. If you're renting out, if you are in places like Switzerland, there is also like heating. Maybe in a hot place, it's more like the AC, the climate, like a system that needs to work. And if you have like a little condo or something, you usually also are responsible to take care of the housekeeping. So like the entrance area or the garden around the property is like clean and taken care of. And you can hire somebody, but again, like you need to find that person and then they have a salary and like there's also some work involved around that. So as a whole, we would say this might take like 1 hour if you're really on the fast side and you've built like systems around it, up to maybe like 4 hours a month to like manage the whole thing on the property side with like 3 properties.
Yep. And then we have the second passive income idea or second passive income stream, if you want to call it that way. Imagine for a second, if you could just invest into the top 500 companies in the United States and get a return from those companies. These companies are very successful, and this is called index fund investing or ETF investing, right? Huge believer in that because over the last 100 years or so, this has generated average yearly returns of 8% and more. And this is amazing. So let's just do a theoretical example right here. I could just go out there and invest into a VOO index fund in my brokerage account and put $750,000 into that. That would net me 60K yearly, which is, when you break it down, 5K a month. And this could be done almost instantly. If you have the money already, you could just deposit it in your brokerage account or so, or you save up each month. That's what most of the people do. But to save up 750K, depending on your income, can take quite a while, right? And that's why it's a little bit inferior to real estate, because you don't have the 5 times leverage that we just talked about, right?
When you compare this to real estate, it's also like you have the market swings, right? So there are going to be years you make maybe like 40%, but there are also years you are like minus 20, -20, -30, -40. So it's like really long-term thing with this average 8%, and many people don't get it. They think like they put in like 100,000 and then they're gonna have 8K every year. It's not working like that. It's not like you're renting out a property where that is like coming in all and every month the same. It can be very much upside, but it can also be downside. So this game usually has to be played for like 10 to 15 years as a horizon to really make sense and average out at that number.
The goal, for example, with these index funds and ETFs is for most people to retire. So they start very early, maybe at 22 or something, ideally, right? And then you let time work for you so it compounds. And when you're 60, 65, maybe 70, then you will have 7 or even 8 figures in your brokerage account because you invested 500, maybe 1,000, maybe $2,000 each month, and then it will compound and snowball into your wealth. That's the main thing. Yeah, in terms of managing this, it really doesn't take a lot of time. You can even automate it with your whole bank account. You can just do automated deposit to save up and put some money aside each month. Maybe if you're gonna take out some money, you need to file some taxes or so, right? But that's it. So I would say it's maybe 30 minutes a month or even nothing. So the third passive income stream is one of my favorites because I made tons of money with that one. And this is called referral marketing or affiliate marketing, where you just take a product that someone else built and then you're just gonna do the marketing for that product and you get a commission. So the person has created the product and you're just bringing people into the door and they are doing all the selling for you. And to make this work for you, we can break down the math really quick right here. So a very typical commission here would be 20%, right? And in order to generate like the 5K a month, you need 25K in revenue for that. Let's say you're gonna advertise a course or something for 200 euros. You need to sell 125 units in a single month. And what you really need in order to get to those 125 units sold is, let's say we do a 1% conversion. So every 100 person that you refer is gonna buy, then you need to talk to 1,250 people each month, right? So you can either talk to those people or you can leverage your social media profiles or run ads or anything that's giving you a little bit more leverage. So what I typically do is I create content, for example, on YouTube or on blogs, or I build sites for that. And then people are gonna go on those sites, maybe they read a review or something, and then they buy this course that I was recommending in there, or I was reviewing in there, or maybe comparing to other sources, right? So this is a huge thing that you can do for the whole passive income thing. And I even had one review that I was writing just out of fun because I bought a course and I was really excited about it. And I put 4 hours of time into that, and this hit 6 figures in revenue. I mean, not in profits, right? Because it was only like 20%, but I invested only 4 hours into that, and it was generating me like 1 to 1.5K each month. And it's amazing, like for 1.5 or 2 years. Of course, building this up is quite a task and takes way longer than I did with this article that I wrote, because I'm already experienced in those kinds of business things, right? And for me, it was just a little side project that I started just out of fun. But for someone who's new to all of that, it could be like 1 year or something to build up this entire audience and all the traffic. And if you want to go the personal route and recommending it to friends or people in your network, right, it's gonna take way longer, and you have to talk to 1,200 people a month, right? So I wouldn't recommend this to start out with, but once you do have a little bit more presence online, maybe then this might be a valid option for you. But once it's built up, maybe you know how to run ads, or maybe you have this presence already. Managing that is pretty much passive, right? So maybe like 4 hours a month to up to 16 hours a month, depending on what you do. If you do more ads, it's a bit more work.
All right, and then let's get to number 4, which is for all the traders out there and people are like, oh, like this automated stuff, does it really work? Is there a way to do it? And that's just like algorithmic trading. And so with my little background in the finance and banking, this always fascinated me. Like, how can you set up a system that just does, like, similar to an index fund, like everything is done for you, but it beats the market and you get beyond this like boring 8% a year. And so there are a few things to pay attention here. Like, obviously there are like different ways to set that whole thing up. If you're into that, there's ways where you do like semi-automated stuff. But for our example here today, we're gonna look out like at the full-fledged example where it would take, like, you would have a system, a strategy that you can set up and let it run, and would get you to, let's say, maybe like 10% monthly passive income. So the math is actually really simple for that one. 10%, you need like 50K capital into that. Now, obviously, as with the index, like none of this is financial advice, and it's really stupid and dumb to put like 50K on like one strategy, especially if you don't know what you're doing. So you got to be careful, and there's like a learning curve in that involved as well. But if you have such a thing and it's a proven one, and either you prove it yourself or you have somebody you trust that this is working out, or has he or she has been working on that for a while, it's like pretty instant on how fast you can implement that. Like you would set up like a brokerage account, connect the whole thing, and it would start working for you. But now like the thing what most people don't see is like the whole time this being built. So usually I'd say like even if you're good at this and you're in really diving deep, I know people that had no prior experience that just said like, okay, let's do it, I'm gonna learn and educate myself. This might need like a warm-up period where you're like all in and really involved in that space for like 6 to 12 months, where you learn about strategy, you test yourself, you optimize, because once such a system is built, it's similar to like marketing campaigns with like others of these models. You do have to like optimize it. Nothing is gonna work forever. It might give you an edge in the market for like a year, 1.5, but at some point it will like slow down and you got to do something new. So I would consider optimizing be a really important part if you're doing algo trading, and even if the profits are rolling in, you work on the next thing and optimize that. So if you set everything up, it's just working, it's doing its work for you, and you get these returns, I would still say, again, you can do 0 hour for just letting it run. It will die off at some point, but if you want to keep it running and keep your edge in the market so you can do this long term, I would say you still need Evolve like be like 4 to 16 hours for the optimization part to really like keep that going long term.
So for the next passive income idea, we have something that is one of my favorites again. I like all of them. So funny today. So imagine for a second, you could build an online store without ever owning the products and without shipping them actually, because someone else is doing that for you. So you don't have to touch products and you don't have to have them physically. You're just running ads to an online store, or maybe promote the online store. You're getting the money, and with that money, you pay for goods, and the difference of what you got and what you pay for is yours. This is called e-commerce or drop shipping, right? And with this model, if you want to make 5K, the numbers look as follows, right? So very typical for e-commerce, the profit margin is 20%. That means if your revenue is $100, you get $20 in profit, right? And in order to hit your target, you need then $25,000 in revenue. And for example, if you want to get to the revenue, you could sell a product for $50. That means 500 units must be sold in a month in order to achieve that. And for that, to make this really realistic for you, there is a study made by Shopify where they just announced that the average conversion rate of an online store is 2.5%. That means for every 100 visitors the store gets, 2.5 people are gonna buy. So either like 2 or maybe 3 people gonna buy. So in total, you need 20,000 people visiting the store a month. And yeah, those numbers are all crazy and the math is a bit complicated here.
But it's how it works, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to get involved with passive income, then that's what you need to be aware of. It's not just like
a lot of numbers, but in the
sunshine.
end, once you have set up everything, all of these models are awesome. And for the whole drop shipping e-commerce thing, right, you need to first build the store, right? Then you need to do some test runs, you need to do some ads. And I would say if you're really good, you could build a store maybe in like a week or so. And if you want to test like 3 or 4 products, you could do a test each week. And then after like a month or a month and a half, you would have something going that's really, really good. But obviously you have to educate yourself and not do everything on your own, right? And just go out there and try to figure everything out. There are people who already did all of these things. So the information is already out there. You have to just implement it and invest in yourself, right? So in terms of the time needed to manage everything in terms of once it's built up, right? You need like maybe 12, maybe 16 hours of your time each month, because you have to run new ads and you have to film something, maybe you have to talk to suppliers or so. Other than that, it's very automated and you can even hire out all of the tasks that you don't like to do.
Amazing. And this brings us to number 6. So imagine you could build something for one time and then just earn money from that over and over and over again until the end of time. And this is one of the models we used to start with ourselves years ago. That's probably like 10 years ago when we did this the first time, Sam. So like this has until today been one of our favorite ones, and we're still doing it and still using it and are a big fan of that. And this is like all evolving around creating digital products like courses, coaching, some sort of service that you maybe like automate with a team or like a freelancer or something like that. Like there are different models how this could look, but essentially breaking down the numbers here again into like what you actually need to make like a 5K out of this model, we go really simple for today and this video. So on average, we see a lot of people and influencers online selling like a simple digital course, maybe around the price point of $100. And so how would the math work out with that? It's really simple. If you want to make 5,000 a month, you sell 50 units of that course, and then coming back into like the whole conversion game, since not everybody's gonna buy, and realistically setting that up at maybe like 1% conversion again, you're gonna need 5,000 visitors, people you talk to, leads, whatever you want to call that thing, people that pay attention to what you're doing actually. And so other than the affiliate model where you refer someone else's products, you need a little bit more startup phase with this one. So you actually need to build the asset, which takes some of your time to like make it good, look good, record it, edit it, and so on. In case it's a course, we're talking the course example today. But the big advantage obviously is once you have that, the margin is usually much bigger because it's your own thing. So you need to sell much less units of that single thing, which is just like 50. I think before we were at around 125 units. You see like the numbers play in your favor here, but it takes a little bit more upfront work to be able to handle that as you build the product this time yourself. And so once you have that set up, it comes really down to like how to get the attention to this kind of product. Either you're gonna have other affiliate partners that do that for you, you manage the relationship to that, you build that out for the rest of time so you can like sell what you have there, or you're gonna go the ads way where you might run ads and you have to watch the campaigns once every few days, build new ones, record new ones, maybe write new copy, or you go the organic way where you have like a big audience, maybe like an Instagram channel or a YouTube audience or an email list where you can just like write or launch campaigns or do launches. Like there's so many different models how you could do that, but essentially you still need to market this thing if you want to profit from it long term, and that still takes up maybe like 12 to 16 hours a month. So also here it's not just a button push, but it's very passive once you've built the initial thing, and you can leverage the whole margin from that.
Now let's get into the next passive income stream, and imagine for a second you could just upload videos to social media. The social media platforms are paying you for people watching the videos, and this is called YouTube or YouTube AdSense. Who guessed it, right? Every time someone uploads a video on YouTube and 1,000 people watch that video, this person is getting paid between $5 to $65 per 1,000 views. And this is really cool, but it takes a lot of time to build this up, right? So in order to achieve 5K a month, let's do the math really quick. So let's say for 1,000 views, we get $15. This is called a CPM, the cost per mil, or the cost per 1,000, right? And to get to this 5K, we need 330,000 views per month. And I don't know about you, but my videos never get 330 views per month, maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4K. But if you're putting all your attention on that and you're doing this long term for maybe 4 or 5 years, this is possible. I've seen so many people hitting that even in 1 year, but that these people are just lucky, right? And obviously you could do way more things than just using the Google Partner Program, right? You could also do affiliate marketing with your channel, or maybe offer your own digital products or what have you, right? Or services. So this would stack on top of each other, but I wouldn't recommend this one for beginners to start out with because it just takes such a long time. But if it's the thing and you want to share your knowledge and you enjoy that, creating some videos, then I highly recommend that one for you as well. In terms of the time needed for YouTube, you can obviously hire a team or something, get a video editor or so, but if you're publishing at least a video a week, it's gonna take you at least 16 to 20 hours per month, right? So let's say you're gonna script the videos or you do an outline or so, then you record the videos and then you upload everything to Dropbox and send everything over to an editor. It's still gonna take like 3 hours per video, and that's still quite active income. But once the videos are up there, they're gonna stay on YouTube forever. People watch that and you're gonna get your nice Google AdSense check each month.
And so at this point, you probably ask yourself like, all right, guys, like how can I actually do this for myself? How can I get started myself? What would be the steps? And as much as we really love these passive income ideas, and like with the twist of like, it still needs some time, we highly recommend before you go into like multiplying your income and trying to make everything like passive and laid back, that you actually increase your active income and get that to like a decent level. So many of these models come easier because you can get yourself shortcuts by hiring people or like investing in mentors mentorships, so that you don't have like to figure out everything yourself. And for example, with real estate that we talk about, like obviously, or like the index fund, you need like a certain amount of capital. And why do you want to save up for like 20 years if you could do it maybe like in 2 or 3 years if you just worked on your active income more actively, as it says. So what we recommend at this point, like if you want to get started and this whole passive income idea appeals to you, that we first focus more on your active income, so that actually gets easier down the line and much faster as a total thing. So in terms of how to increase your active income to, let's say, maybe like 10K a month, we get asked this question a lot, by the way. We recommend like a specific model that is just like very effective in the current environment of like where the world is shifting. Like people want to work remotely or want to work from anywhere in the world, be more independent. And if this sounds like interesting you and you want to check out, like we created like a whole separate video on that, like how that exactly works, what are the benefits, what do you need to look out for. And if you want to check that out, like click the video here.